Welcome back to the National Center and State Collaborative Community of Practice webinar. This presentation is part 2 of the Graduated Understandings and focuses on the curriculum and instructional resource called the Element Cards, which along with the Instructional Families make up the Graduated Understandings. As you know, this instructional triangle is used as the framework for all webinars. This webinar will focus on the curriculum aspect of the triangle and begin to bridge both instruction and formative assessment. As we go through this module, remember that work we do within the triangle is all directed to the goal of college, career, and community readiness, and that communicative competence is the base. This presentation is considered a draft. In keeping with the project's goal to provide quality instructional resources, feedback on the presentation and materials is welcomed and valued. Any feedback will be used to make improvements to these resources. There are 2 goals for this webinar. First, we will discuss the purpose and content of the element cards, and then we will review how the instructional families introduced in Part 1 can be used along with the element cards to support planning of instruction. Let's take a quick look at the NCSIC instructional schema and remind ourselves of where the graduated understandings fit as we begin to bridge the what and how to teach through the instructional families and element cards. Let's look back at the purpose of the instructional families in order to bridge the 2 resources found within the graduated understandings. The instructional families were designed to help effectively plan instruction in the least restrictive environment, from multi-grade, self-contained settings to general education classrooms, and provide a common language to support effective instruction. For instance, in 8th grade, you know you need to teach concepts such as patterns, relations, and functions, and you are planning instruction either collaboratively with a general education teacher, consulting with a general education teacher, using available curriculum resources in your school, or searching the web for lesson plans. In any case, the instructional families can be used to ensure that prioritized skills of the core content connectors are addressed within the instruction. This can be done by searching for specific skills addressed in lessons based on concept vocabulary, such as rate of change and y-intercept, or by the Common Core State Standard addressed. As stated in Part 1 of the webinar, the instructional families can be used to plan instruction by looking at all the skills that come before and after a grade, looking for skills needed to build background knowledge or fill gaps, and plan for multi-grade instruction. Once you have a good instructional plan in place based on the Common Core State Standards and the core content connectors, what's next? Well, next we need to consider all the ways a student will engage and learn within the instruction. Some concepts, strategies, and supports are easy to implement, while others can be very difficult to problem solve. The element cards are designed to support this process by providing ideas on the basic elements of a concept, instructional ideas to support students, and to inform collaborative discussions. The element cards provide teachers with a key resource to further explicate student movement towards the Common Core State Standard when used as a supplement to other instructional resources. The element cards include links to the Common Core State Standards and progress indicators of the Learning Progressions Frameworks, descriptions of knowledge and skills required to successfully address grade-specific academic content of mathematics, descriptions of knowledge and skills required to successfully address grade-specific academic content of mathematics. The element cards provide suggested instructional strategies to teach specific concepts and skills within the core content connectors, and suggested supports and scaffolds. This is a sample of an element card that details its structure and content. The element cards identify a core content connector in relation to a Common Core state standard and a progress indicator of the learning progressions framework. They provide essential understandings that include the necessary knowledge and skills required to successfully address academic skills and develop assessments, formative and summative. They provide suggested instructional strategies to teach the specific concepts and skills of the core content connector, and provide suggested supports and scaffolds for students to be able to demonstrate what they know and can do. Over the next several slides, we will take a closer look at each section of the element card. Element cards for supporting or supplementing instructional strategies to teach the specific concepts and skills of the core content connector can be found by the information presented at the beginning or top of the element cards. For example, if you are interested in finding ideas on how to teach to the concept of slope and y-intercept, you can search for an element card based on the Common Core State Standard 8F4 or the Core Content Connector. If you don't have that specific information, but know you need information on an 8th grade concept related to patterns, relations, and functions, you can search for an element card by the LPF strand or by an instructional family. Once you have the element card related to the concept you are searching, you will find a section labeled Essential Understandings. Essential Understandings describe skills used to engage successfully with the content identified by the core content connector, or a set of related core content connectors. In this context, concrete understanding refers to the fundamental mathematical concepts and skills essential to entering the content described in the core content connector at grade level. The mathematical representation refers to the specific symbols or reference related to the learning of these specific concepts and skills, such as mathematical symbols and operations. This section may help identify skills in which a student needs to be supported by building background knowledge or providing the specific content vocabulary and reference that should be considered when planning for multiple means of representation, expression, and engagement. This section provides examples of instructional strategies for teaching the concepts and skills found within the core content connectors. The Suggested Instructional Strategies section provides examples of evidence-based strategies supporting instruction at varying levels of challenge. As you plan instruction related to specific skills and concepts of the Common Core State Standards and the core content connectors, this may help in brainstorming ideas on how to build specific background knowledge or provide ideas for differentiating instruction in any classroom setting. And finally, the supports and scaffolds provide suggestions of possible tools and materials that assist in the promotion of understanding and engagement with the concepts. These suggested supports and scaffolds can provide a way for students to demonstrate what they know and can do. The last two sections of the element cards are not all-inclusive. As you use these materials and determine other instructional strategies that work, or additional ideas for supports and scaffolds, add them to your cards. Now you can have a growing reference of ideas for yourself and to share with COP members who are looking for ideas. This should be a growing document that helps us to avoid the trap of reinventing the wheel. In this webinar, we have discussed the purpose and content of the element cards and how the instructional families and element cards can be used together to support instructional planning. Please take some time to become familiar with the instructional families and element cards for each of the strands in mathematics. These can be reviewed electronically, and the use of the search function can move through the documents quickly to find related Common Core State Standards, core content connectors, learning targets in the instructional families and the element cards. Please complete the participation guide, providing feedback on what works well for you, what information you may still need, and what is still confusing. Thank you very much.